there's been a lot said about the Marvels, and I thought, you know what? Rather than listen to what people say, why don't I go and watch it for myself and see if it's an exaggeration, if it's the manosphere trying to assassinate a movie, or if there are legitimate reasons why the movie is only, essentially at this point is a bomb, right? It hasn't made enough money, right? And so I went out and watched it, and TLDR, I didn't enjoy it. Now, is it as bad as people are making it? No, it's not. I think it's along the same lines as a Thor: Love and Thunder or Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Basically, a movie that's really not about anything. Like everything is all superficial bad guys with no real depth to the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, not fully explained, not fully rationalized, and horrible things happening, and everybody speaking, sort of like a Gilmore Girls quirky talk, So it's like Gilmore Girls save the universe. That's what that's what whoever went and pitched this movie. That's what they pitched. Think Gilmore Girls, right? Joke a minute, and then think saving the universe and superpowers. Let's mash it up and let's create this thing. And basically, that's what they got. But now, that being said, I did want to address certain things that I thought that aren't fair about the movie. That people are saying, so that if you decide to go and watch this movie yourself, you at least understand that it's really not as bad as they're making it. So if you could watch and endure Shazam: Fury of the Gods, then this movie is right along the same lines. It's just as goofy, and maybe that's what they were going for, and it just didn't work, right? So there's really two big things that I've heard quite a lot of that after watching the movie, I was surprised to find out that basically they're not true. So either the people who are saying these things didn't watch the movie and are just regurgitating what they heard other people say, right? Because it's just straight up hate. Or they watched the movie, didn't pay attention, to it. Maybe they just, checked out, and because of that, they just, it's like whatever. So they didn't catch those things, even though it's hard for me to imagine they didn't catch one of them. Or finally, they're just straight up haters and they're trying to assassinate the movie, and so they're just lying, right? Those are the only choices. Because if you watched it, then you would not be spreading some of the lies that are being spread about it, right? So that being said, before I get going, spoiler alert, everything I'm going to say after this is I'm actually going to be talking about the movie. I'm not giving a general gloss over. I'm actually going to be discussing the movie. And I will say to you that if you have not watched the movie, I think you should still watch a spoiler review of the movie. And I definitely think you should watch this. And then after you watch this, you decide whether or not you want to go see it, right? So the first big thing that everyone is talking about, that I've heard numerous times from numerous reviewers, is, hey, why did the bad guy's powers not not cause her to swap places with Captain Marvel and all the other Marvels, right? Because all the Marvels, their powers are swapping. If you don't know, this woman, she opens a tear in the universe or something like that, teleportation tear, and somehow Monica Rambeau is touching something, and this other person, they're all sort of using their powers while she opens this tear, and so they become cosmically entangled. And now, whenever they use their powers simultaneously, they swap places. So why doesn't that woman swap places with the rest of them? Well, it's a really simple answer: because she doesn't have powers, right? She doesn't have powers. She's using a device, right? Kamala Khan, I think that's her name, has powers. She was established to be actually a mutant. Her powers don't come from that bracelet. The bracelet only, I guess, enhances her powers in some way, but she just has the powers, period, right? She's a mutant, right? Obviously, Captain Marvel has powers, right? So we know that she naturally has powers. Her genetic makeup gives her powers, right, after the accident that she endured. And the Rambeau lady, same thing. When she walked into the through the force field that Scarlet Witch created, she gained powers. So she has natural powers that she can use. The villain has no powers. She's just using the bracelet with the staff from Ronin, and somehow she does something with it. It's somehow, I guess, been infused with infinity powers somehow. I don't know. She does something with it, and when she does that, it opens up the portals. But she doesn't have any inherent powers that she's actually using, light powers. So obviously, she would not be swapping with them, because the rules that have been established in the universe is that people who have these light-based powers that I guess are using them in somehow in a simultaneous kind of way, they swap, right? So that's the first one, right? Now the other one, that's a big one that I've heard from people is, why doesn't switching work all the time? Well, this is the one that I would say really, after watching the movie, it basically became obvious to me that the people that were saying, that were saying this were being completely disingenuous. Because if you've watched the movie at all, there is an entire sequence where they play the Beastie Boys Intergalactic, where they're on a ship on their way to a certain planet. While they're on the ship, they fully establish the rules of these powers, right? They all the characters learn and understand how the powers actually work. Up until that point, they're being caught by surprise. They don't know what's going on. But now that they're all together like that, they're experimenting on the powers. There's a part where they're walking with books on their head, and they use their power simultaneously, and it swaps, and they're able to maintain the books in their head and balance. So they don't only understand the powers, they learn to use the powers. They learn the characteristics and the traits of the powers, and set it up. And the basic rule is, they swap when they are using their powers simultaneously. They don't swap when they're using their powers. They swap when they're using their powers simultaneously. And throughout the movie, there are multiple occasions where, for example, Miss Marvel is asked not to use her powers because Captain Marvel knows that Captain Marvel is trying to do something. So she knows that if Miss Marvel uses her powers while she's all fighting and doing all these things, that they can swap, which would be dangerous for Miss Marvel from Captain Marvel's perspective. So those are the reasons why they're able to swap, and sometimes they're not able to swap. They're not swapping sometimes because only one person is using it and the other person is holding off. And by the end of the movie, they actually start becoming very tactical with it and using it to their advantage as they're fighting the villain of the story, right? So, having said that, did I like the movie? No, I thought it was uh, really, really childish, but really not even something that was made for a child. And again, there's two reasons why I really, really dislike this movie. The first one is that it's really formulaic. It played to me like basically an episode of Marvel, right? If you take Thor: Love and Thunder and you take this, it's the same arcs, the same motivations of the villain to a certain extent, just some weird nonsensical motivation. The same, I've got to go get the MacGuffin, or the thingamajig or whatever that's going to do this, that, or the other thing. In this case, it's a revenge plot. She's not going to get something. She gets in the beginning, but she's got to accomplish this thing, right? That I don't understand. She's, I guess, a revenge plot from her perspective, but we don't have enough understanding of her character to connect with her on this revenge plot. So she just seems like some random strange woman. They haven't taken the time to build it up, right? So that's, the formula side of it was kind of lame to me. And then the other big thing was that the movie is just completely tone deaf, just completely tone deaf. If I tell you that billions of people died in this movie, I wouldn't be exaggerating. And again, I want you to imagine billions of people dying, and I want you to imagine the Gilmore Girls, with their quirky, back and forth, jokey stuff, while billions of people are dying, and they're not dying like Thanos snap, right, and they disappear, right, which would be bad in and of itself. They're dying like being ejected into space, right? Imagine yourself being ejected into space, and either your body, I don't know what happens, whether you explode or implode. Basically, your eye blood coming out of your eyes, or just a horrific death where you're freezing. That's how they're dying, right? Because on one planet, the air is sucked out, the atmosphere is sucked out, and they're left on the planet to die. So if you're lucky enough to get crushed in the head by a rock, good for you. The rest of them basically, um, you know, are facing the effects of the revelations from the Bible, right? And then on the other planet, all the water is sucked out, and they just teleport away, and it's all good. Meanwhile, everybody on that planet, let's say the planet has half the population of Earth, so 3 billion people basically dead, no water, dead, not discussed again for the rest of the movie. So um, it just didn't make any sense. The story didn't make any sense from that perspective. But is it a problem because there was a bunch of females? No. Is it a problem? Is it an MCU kind of thing? No. Do I feel like they shoved these characters down our throats, or is forced, or this like that? No. Did they do any woman power kind of stuff? No. It was a normal superhero movie like any other superhero movie. And if this was a bunch of guys, if this was Shazam or any other character, and they put out this basically light work, nothing serious kind of stuff, it would be the same result, right? It would No one would want to watch it. Nobody watched Shazam, right? For the same reason. It was not because it's a horrible, horrible movie, but it's just it doesn't have any teeth to it, right? The story didn't have any depth, right? It's glossed over. And so back in 1970, when they came out with Superman, what people were watching and what was exciting to people was that, oh my God, look at these amazing special effects. The man is flying and all that stuff, picking up cars. How'd they do this? Oh, it's amazing. It was something that they'd never seen before. In this day and age, in 2023, we've seen it all. Okay, so you can't lead with just blasting and all kinds of stuff. You got to put a real story together. These superhero movies of this modern era are real character pieces, that are well crafted. Everybody understands the reason why everybody does what they're doing. Even the bad guys. Even the bad guys resonate with us. Even Thanos resonates with us, right? Killmonger resonates with us, right? Hey, Ultron resonates with us, right? There's rationale behind what the villains are doing, right? And maybe earlier on we could have lighter villains like we did in the old Marvel movies. But in these modern ones, after the Russo brothers ratcheted up all this stuff and really started putting together real villains, I mean, my goodness, how can this woman match up to Nemo from Civil War, right? And that kind of story, right? Those kinds of motivations, where he went, what he was trying to accomplish, how he was trying to accomplish it, right? You can't take us all the way up there and then start giving us, fear of the gods level dialogue and villains and all that kind of stuff. And that's the only real thing wrong with the movie. I wouldn't say it doesn't deserve any MCU kind of stuff from my perspective that I can see. And anyone who'd be saying that is probably has some ulterior motive to why they are saying that. With that being said, this has been Sign of Reason. I'm your host, Errol Omeka. We're trying to get you more content like this, talking about world issues, talking about movies, news, sports, you name it. We put a rational spin on everything. So enjoy, like, subscribe, share if you liked it, and we will see you next time.